now, The Money Show
with Stephen Grootes on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB, proud host of the Africa Impact Matters series podcast. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. 9 minutes after 6. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Plenty to come tonight. In fact, Eskom just releasing their results in the last sort of hour or so. Their interim results. We'll speak to Calib Cassim, the Chief Financial Officer there, in just a moment. Spoiler alert, they seem to be pretty good. Certainly lots of momentum behind Eskom. I found the issue around fuel and aviation fascinating. So many different things coming out of it. And now there seems to be a series of SARS reviews, and that's having an impact on actual availability. I find that quite bizarre. You would think that this is the kind of thing that can be managed years in advance. Everyone knows when the paperwork is due, how it all works. Instead, there are some concerns actually that East London Airport simply won't have enough. I realize that the way in which you store fuel has to be managed very carefully. Everything has to be managed, but it's still a very strange story. We'll speak to Shaldon Kopman. He is the founder and creative director of the fashion line. They're called Naked Ape. And it's particularly luxury clothing. We're talking about shirts that cost 7,000 Rand, that kind of thing. Just a different way of looking at life, I think, and is the kind of a shirt that you would wear for a very special event, and you would wear it for lots of special events over the years. One of the questions I do want to ask, though, is, are they aimed at a particular age demographic? I mean, could I wear one, or would it be for younger people? I mean, looking at the pictures, I think maybe younger people, but we'll find out as we go. Looking forward to that conversation. Good to hear from you tonight. I would love to know how your Black Friday went. Didn't go very well for F&B by the looks of it. They had quite a few glitches. Other banks, ABSA, Discovery, all reporting much higher transaction numbers than usual. It's quite interesting. I remember in the 1990s, my first job ever that was sort of not working for my dad was actually in a shopping mall. And it was a shopping mall sort of on the border between Joburg and Ekurhuleni. And if you know that area, you know exactly which one I'm talking about. And they used to always say the two busiest shopping days were Christmas Eve, and in the shop I worked in, you felt that. And the other one was the Saturday before Christmas. How different is it now that it's Black Friday today? It's so interesting how that's happened. And it's just marketing. There's nothing else. Nothing, the sun still is in the sky at the same time. Nothing's changed. And yet, the busiest shopping day of the year is actually today. Just a reminder, tomorrow morning, maybe even now, go and just check your bank account. Make sure that no one used the huge transactions, the number of transactions, to actually defraud you or steal from you. Your Black Friday shopping expedition, please, your story. 072-702-1702 and call us on 011-883-0702 and 021-446-0567. Don't forget the Friday Biz Blitz in about half an hour.
The Money Show
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
and DSTV channel 856.
12 after 6. Well, Eskom reporting another strong set of interim results for the 6 months to the end of September. It made an after-tax profit of over 24 billion Rand. That's up by 37%. It grew revenue by 4%. It did have a reduction in sales volumes. Calib Cassim is the Chief Financial Officer at Eskom. Calib, good evening. I really appreciate the time. You made a profit in the last financial year. You make a profit in this period again. That would indicate that you have a lot of positive momentum behind you.
Good evening, Stephen, to you and your listeners. Yes, definitely this is positive. I think also beginning of this week we see the S&P upgrade for Eskom. And it's really on the back of delivering the turnaround operationally and financially. And, today, it was the last day of literally their existing board members. A lot of them are leaving. So I think what they've done over the 3 years has been tremendous, Stephen.
You got a tariff increase of 12%, but your revenue was only up by 4%. Why is there such a big difference there? And I mean, I presume that you sold less electricity during the period, and that's responsible?
Yeah, definitely. The sales volumes are down, especially domestically. On the back, I think on some industrials and some big commercial companies, they have challenges in terms of their commodity prices, especially the ferrochrome industry. That has come down. But Stephen, another important factor as well, and we know this is linked to what we don't collect from municipalities. And as you would know, from an accounting perspective, we only can recognize certain of these customers on a cash basis. And we just look at that non-collections. that has increased from 7.9 billion last September 24 to 9.5. So that's also contributing. But there has been that drop-off in domestic sales.
I mean, there's no way Eskom can continue if councils don't pay you what they owe you.
Yeah, no, it's unsustainable. And September 24, our Munich and Metro arrears was 90 billion. 12 months down the line, we're up to 105 billion from the 90, and just from March year end, from 96 to 105. Clearly unsustainable. This is the biggest issue we're talking about from our sustainability. And then the other one is we need to address what we term the non-technical losses. Two elements in that. One is the theft and meter tampering, and the second one, obviously, Eskom needs to tighten our systems in terms of those online vending system and illegal tokens. So that's also a pain at the moment.
You mentioned the ferrochrome issue. So people have switched off their smelters. They're going to keep them off until electricity prices are low. And I realize that's not in your control, Calib. Well, largely it's not. There's also more rooftop solar capacity. Is solar capacity, the fact so many people generate their own electricity, particularly during the day, is that beginning to have an impact on your sales volumes? It must be.
No, definitely. If we look at what our system operator tells us, Stephen, there's about 7.3 gigawatts of rooftop PV that definitely takes away sales. But what we do find as well, and that is why the reliability of the system is important now, when we've been having this rain for consecutive days, so suddenly Eskom must find about anything between 5 gigawatts at a point in time. But luckily the system on the generation side much more reliable, and we're able to do that and keep the lights on.
So, isn't this the issue? You have smelter customers who are not going to switch back on unless prices get lower, and they won't for some time. You've got a lot more rooftop solar capacity. And it would seem to me, based on just those two things, your sales volumes might never actually go up again.
So definitely in our forecasting going forward, Stephen, we do forecast a decline in sales, anything between 1 to 2% permanently. However, we know on the baseload customers, and we must work with the industry, with the regulator and government, where do you pitch a sustainable industrial tariff, not only on a short term but on a long term. And I think the key message behind that is whatever our production cost is for that, what those customers need to survive in their markets. And if there's a gap, we must decide on how transparent we make whatever subsidy and in what form it's going to take. Because we know critically for this country, we need to protect jobs as well. So it's important. It's not just an Eskom issue, but it's a country issue to make sure we don't lose further jobs.
The profit that you do make, Calib, it comes after quite a lot of help from the National Treasury. And just to be clear, it goes back into your infrastructure, right?
100%.
Okay.
100%, Stephen. All our capex is now funded from cash from operations because we're not allowed to borrow during the debt relief window. And we're forecasting not to borrow in the next 18 months. So really reinvested into the infrastructure. We can't use it for operating costs or anything else. Otherwise, we're in breach. So yes, invested in our networks as well as the generation business.
Calib Cassim, good to talk. Thank you very much indeed. Chief Financial Officer at Eskom, 18 minutes after 6.
The Money Show on 702.
Monday to Friday, 6 to 8 p.m.
More suggestions today about questions around our aviation fuel system. Jet facilities that supply the King Phalo Airport in East London have been subject to a licensing review by SARS. Suggestions that because of that, there might actually be a shortage of aviation fuel. Linden Burns is an aviation expert, joins us now. Linden, good evening. The way I understand it is that SARS has to license these facilities. Fuel is taxed in a particular way. What I don't understand, Linden, is why a review by SARS would affect the suppliers.
So I think, Stephen, good evening. There's been a bit of confusion around East London. But let's just deal with the SARS issue first. What's happened in South Africa over the past nearly 5 years now, is that largely the production of jet fuel in the country has almost stopped. We've only got one refinery down here in Cape Town, the Astron refinery, which is still producing jet fuel, but not nearly at the volumes it used to. The big refinery next to the old Durban airport, that closed down, and with the flood damage and also the riot damage that was done. So we rely very heavily on imported fuels. And what SARS have been doing, from what we can make out, is that they're saying you might have been a fuel producer and licensed and taxed as a fuel producer in the past. Now you're in a different category. Now you're a fuel supplier and distributor, and therefore you're subject to a different regime and different rules, and you need a different license. And there's been this impasse. It's not been resolved. This has been dragging on for several months. It started when they wanted to impose duties on fuel being shipped up from or transported from Durban to Natref in Joburg using the multi-product pipeline. So this is something that's been going on for a while. Now, the good news is that there is enough fuel for at least for the weekend at East London. The crisis, the immediate crisis of East London, was actually not so much related to the SARS issue, but because they discovered fuel contamination yesterday at East London. One of the tankers was inspected. Now, jet fuel has to be inspected every day. The tanks that it's stored in have to be inspected. You can't have impurities. It's a safety issue. And they found contaminated fuel. So none of the fuel could be used, and they've had to now truck in fuel throughout today to East London. And I'm told, my last update was about an hour ago, and I was told there is now sufficient fuel there. George was impacted by the SARS issue because Cape Town had a fuel supply shortage for the last 2 weeks because of the SARS issue relating to a fuel depot at the port of Cape Town, which didn't have the requisite license, apparently. Now, fuel supplies to Cape Town Airport resumed this week, but George relies on the same supplier, and it was left vulnerable, and its stocks had depleted. And overnight last night, there was an emergency truckload or several trucks sent to George. And that was decanted this morning. So at least over the weekend, we can breathe, and hopefully this will all get resolved before we head right into the peak summer holiday rush towards the end of next week.
I mean, I would imagine that SARS impasse around whether you're a producer or a storer of fuel, that kind of thing can go on forever. I can just imagine the lawyers licking their lips.
Yeah, clearly it can. And I think what really is, again, painful for the airlines here is that they're the ones that face the customers. If they've got to cancel a flight or reschedule a flight, the customers don't really care. It's, well, I bought a ticket with you. Why are you not getting me where I have to be on time? And the airlines, again, this is, again, like the ATNS issue that we spoke about recently. This is a problem beyond the airlines making. And frankly, it doesn't help when you've got AXA, the airports company, which is not a fuel supplier. It's not a fuel trader, but it often passes itself off and makes pronouncements to the public, suggesting and implying that it is, by making statements saying, we've secured fuel supplies or fuel stocks are secure. That frankly, that's overreach by AXA. AXA's role is to manage the infrastructure to store the fuel and make sure it gets from the storage tanks into the aeroplanes through the pipelines and hydrants on the airfields.
Linden Burns, thank you so much. The aviation expert. Really appreciate that. 23 minutes after 6.
7:02. Stephen is on the Money Show.
6 to 8 p.m.
Well, you know how the way in which we trade is changing so quickly. There are a lot more opportunities. There are also I suppose, more problems. And the Money Show is now in conversation with Prime XBT, empowering traders to succeed. Shaldon Kopman is the head of region at Prime XBT Africa. Shaldon, good evening. Markets are moving so quickly. You're in the low fee pricing area. How does that help people engage with market opportunities? How does it help them get in on the action?
Hello, Stephen, and hello to all of your listeners at home. And firstly, Stephen, the current volatility that we see across all the different markets is definitely creating significant intraday sort of trading opportunities for traders in South Africa. And secondly, obviously, Prime XBT offers some of the lowest trading fees in South Africa across all different trading instruments, with our VIP discounts going up to 70% available from day one. And also the local payments that Prime XBT offers obviously make it easier and cheaper to buy and trade Bitcoin and other sort of crypto assets compared to what you would call traditional exchanges.
You're regulated by the FSCA, both for CFDs and for crypto trading. That must be quite important for the safety of your clients, for transparency. And the thing that's central to all of this, isn't it? It's trust.
Most definitely, Stephen. Prime XBT is regulated by the FSCA, as you have said, to provide both CFD trading products and crypto asset trading here in South Africa. And also the transparency, is enabled by segregation of funds, of client funds, as required by the regulator. Also a negative balance protection, meaning that client balances on their trading accounts will never drop below zero, and the strict operational standards. We also have a multi-award-winning platform called PX Trader, which has a global recognition for safety and innovation. And our aim here, Stephen, is to obviously ensure that we provide a safe, a fair, and a professional trading environment for South African traders of all proficiency levels. So we don't just focus on traders who are more experienced, whether you're a beginner, sort of in the mid-level or experienced. All our intentions are to make sure that you have a very fair and a very reliable trading environment.
We've seen Prime XBT, you've been quite involved in sort of local things, school sponsorship, stuff like that. How are you strengthening your presence across South Africa? You've got to get through a lot of noise to have an impact, right? How are you finding that?
Yeah, definitely, Stephen. We like to see ourselves as a very responsible sort of corporate citizen in this country. So by growing our local presence through CSR partnerships and community support, that's one, and also through active CSR projects with local schools, through educational initiatives and community development. Also by participating in and sponsoring some local finance events where participants are empowered with financial knowledge to make better financial and investment decisions. And also through expanding partnerships with key industry stakeholders in the financial services ecosystem here in South Africa, but also across the continent.
You're a busy company in a very busy market. I would imagine you're seeing a lot of growth both in the market and with you yourselves.
Oh, most definitely, Stephen. Even though we operate in a very competitive environment, but we have seen some growth since we got our local license, and we're looking forward to what's in store for us in 2026 with all the interesting products and projects that we have planned for our traders and for our community at large.
I presume you see a return on your investment. You get involved in the local community and they pay it back.
Oh, most definitely. I think the ROI with community projects is not obviously sort of commercial or financial, but the benefits that is derived by the communities which we sponsor or support when they give us the report is obviously what we do it for.
Shaldon Kopman, thanks so much. Head of Region at Prime XBT Africa. As an FSCA-regulated, award-winning broker, Prime XBT gives you the confidence to trade market volatility your way. Enjoy some of the lowest trading fees, advanced tools across crypto futures and CFDs, and VIP discounts of up to 70%. Available to new traders from day one. Take advantage of free deposits and withdrawals with both crypto options and local South African payment methods. Prime XBT, empowering traders to succeed. Always trade responsibly. Trading comes with risk.
The Money Show.
The markets.
Zwelakhe Mnguni is Chief Investment Officer at Benguela Global Fund Manager. Zwelakhe, good evening. I mean, there's a lot of global uncertainty at the moment, and yet, once again, the JSE seems to be really quite resilient.
Indeed, Stephen, we are seeing that the JSE has done very, very well this year. I think we are up about 36% compared to global markets that are up only about 21%. And amongst those, I mean, the US is up 17%. I think the key thing is we've seen a turn in our fundamentals. I think we've seen a stronger rand, boosted by the strong export of gold and platinum. But we are also seeing that following the mini budget, we've seen lower sovereign credit spreads. We are seeing good fiscal management. So it does look like our economy has come back into favor. And I think that we are also seeing that inflation might remain under control with a stronger rand. So we're likely to see that we will see investors continue to come into the market, in the South African market. That has been cheap for quite a long time.
It's interesting to see what's changed over the last few months. I mean, when Trump came into office, Bitcoin surged. It's tanked or stagnated. Pick one. Oil is volatile. Gold surge just continues. I mean, this is really quite a strange time. I mean, a lot of things happening that are big changes that you would not have predicted.
Yeah, I think what it would appear is happening is that the market seems to be pivoting more towards tangible safe haven assets. So we can see that gold has held up relatively well. I mean, I think Bitcoin is down 30% in the last month. Brent is going sideways, but I think the main thing is that there is an element of fear in the market that tends to swing prices fairly quickly in a short space of time if there is any announcement. So we are seeing that also in the AI stocks, where the likes of NVIDIA, I mean, they pull back like 5% in a day on any news. So it is appearing to be a move towards tangible safe haven assets.
And then the AI boom, I mean, that was the big driver and has been the big driver of markets over the last few months. I see more and more pieces. The Economist has had a big one over the last week, suggesting that people just aren't using AI. And I mean, I have to say, I'm not using it. That doesn't matter, but companies aren't using it, and that does matter.
It's true. I think we are still in the early phase. I think it would become quite an endemic application, but I think what is being priced into the stocks is quite something beyond what can be achieved in the short term. And I think the capex that they have been spending or they've committed is so high that it will take them years for them to get a return on their capital. I think we are seeing a similar wave like what happened during the internet, the emergence of the internet, when the companies pumped a lot of capital and then they said with low capacity utilization, that only got utilized over time. So I do think that there is a risk that we might see a massive pullback amongst these stocks. But long term, I think the application itself is a fantastic innovation.
Zwelakhe, thank you so much. Zwelakhe Mnguni is the Chief Investment Officer at Benguela Global Fund Managers.
The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
22 minutes now to 7 the time. Don't forget the Friday Biz Blitz in a few moments. And you know, of course, the numbers to dial for that. Just your Black Friday experience. I made the point half an hour ago or so about how the busiest shopping days of the years have changed simply really because of Black Friday, gone from Christmas Eve to kind of Black Friday, although you heard analysis yesterday suggesting that it has spread out just a little bit. Very unfortunate for one of the big banks, F&B in this case, to have a bit of a glitch, and I do wonder if that impacted some of their customers, what that meant, and what happened. You know, with with things like that, with IT issues, you never really get to the bottom of it, or I always feel that you never really know. And I don't know if it'll make them feel any better, but in the US, futures markets for the Nasdaq and the Dow Jones had to be suspended early this morning. Well, sort of lunchtime, our time, I suppose, because of a glitch. They did get to the bottom of that. They said there was a heating issue on one of their units. I imagine something overheated, although you would expect there to be a backup after a backup after, I don't know, a backup. And that did not seem to kick in for quite some time. So some difficulties coming through on Black Friday. The other news I found interesting today, Tuba losing that court bid to stop the handover to Sizakaya of the National Lottery. And I remember making the point to you when all of this started. we have set up a system where no matter what happens, when one company takes over the national lottery from another, there will be a court case. There's got to be another way to do it. We're not the only place where this happens, but I just find the whole way in which it's managed. I don't know if there's time for a rethink. If you did, someone would go to court, but there's got to be a way to do something.
702 with Stephen Grootes.
Email him on stephen@702.co.za.
On the next Money Show, we chat financial results with Discovery Life Insurance. We have the comedian Vafa Nagari on How I Make My Money, and a conversation on how South Africa retailers are rewriting the rules of play in the 7 billion rand toy shake-up. All of that and more on your next Money Show.
The Money Show.
The Friday File.
The Friday File.
Just gone 7:15. Don't forget the Friday Biz Blitz in a few moments. Well, tonight we're focusing on fashion, and a particular kind of fashion. It's fashion from the house The Naked Ape. Shaldon Kopman is the founder and creative director of Naked Ape. Shaldon, good evening, and thanks for taking the time to speak to us on a Friday. I have to start, obviously, with the name. Where did the name come from?
Hi, good evening, Stephen, and thank you for the opportunity. The name came from a very long time ago, and it was really taken from a book that was written by Desmond Morris called The Naked Ape. And really, it was the understanding of how man needs to understand his primates and be able to respect Earth and everything alike. And later on, this was at a very young age, of course, and later on, it evolved into fashion brand being Naked Ape. And the approach is very much into evolutionary wardrobe, meaning that something has to integrate into the space that you have available. So buy less, wear more, quality over quantity, that kind of thing.
So you describe your, I don't know, do you call them clothes? Do you call it apparel? Do you have a classier name? But you describe, let me say you describe.
Well, it's
Go on.
ultimately it's clothing, Stephen. But apparel is also a derivative thereof. And we tend to use the word garments, which is a lot more befitting.
I was going to say you describe your fashion because that was going to get me out of the problem. You describe your garments. You say African-inspired, non-binary. What do you mean by that? And I realize I'm asking you to put a look into words, which is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
But you're clearly going for a certain consciousness.
Absolutely. So basically, I'll start with the African-inspired. I mean, everything we do is pretty much inspired by the continent, locally produced, and sourcing as many textiles as we possibly can on the continent before looking abroad. Then it comes to everything from the inception of the collection, whether it be a seed or let's just say a berry that grows in a certain tree, is the inspiration, and it's all about the Africanism thereof. Certain language, certain understandings of culture, and exposing it, but using that as a creative tool, but not really being, literal about the entire thing, approaching it from an artistic space. When it comes to non-binary, we're in a space right now where, we have to consider the space of gender fluidity. We living in a different time, and our youth is morphing into all kinds of wonderful directions. And I would say that non-binary really is about the fact that what she can wear, he can wear, kind of thing, and being able to trade wardrobe between the opposites. So, and also considering everybody else within the space that sometimes is completely gender neutral as well.
And I mean, it's very interesting to see this happen. Your clothes have, Shaldon, they have a kind of unique look to them. I'm not a fashionista, I'm ashamed to say. You probably know that about me. But I spent some time on your site today, and if I were, I don't know, somewhere on Sunday and I bump into someone wearing one of your pieces, there's the word, pieces, and I would probably recognize it almost immediately. And I'm not a visual person. So I'm intrigued into how you get that particular look.
In an industry whereby you're always trying to create a unique selling proposition within your brand. And we are very limited in terms of the resources that we have available continentally. So we tend to lean towards the more artisanal skills that are available to us within our backyards. So it's about harnessing that and taking that into the actual construction of your garments. Yes, we do have a very distinct look. We are tailor-made, and everything we do, whether it be a track pants or a pair of tights to, the finest suit, we kind of have like a certain signature, and we want to specialize in producing the best, highest quality of garment we possibly can, working within the biodegradable natural fabrics and trying to avoid synthetics wherever we can, which is pretty much 99% of what we do.
No, sure.
So yeah, the distinctness is something that has worked over time. And like everything, like when we speak about evolutionary, it's about taking something, knowing that a pants is a pants and a jacket is a jacket. But what do we do with it? And, when you come across a magnificent piece of cloth, make the most of it. If you're going to tailor make it, do it the best you possibly can.
Does it get harder to keep that particular look as your range of products grows broader? So it's fine to have one thing. It's slightly harder to have two things that look distinctive but clearly related to each other. It's much harder to have 100.
Over time, Stephen, over the past 15 years, since the brand was launched in 2010, we've basically taken the very same silhouettes and refined them as we've gone along, refabricated them, and just kept to the silhouette that works best for our clients that we have. And it seems to be working very well. So we are not the brand that is out there and avant-garde and wants to make a statement about this and that and make a lot of noise about this and that. It's really about what works best for us and what we know best and how can we improve on it every single time.
Your pricing is interesting. I mean, some of your shirts are sort of 7,000 Rand. Your suits are more than that. What do you picture people wearing these clothes for? Is it for an occasion? Would it be, I'm the kind of person who would have an occasion shirt. Shaldon, you're probably recoiling in shock. Would it be, it's not something you would wear just once. You might only wear it once a year, but you'd wear it once a year for 20 or 30 years.
What you might be observing, Stephen, is probably the stuff that you see on runway. So as we take an 80-20 approach to the brand and what we put out creatively. So 20% will be the highest level of our creativity at this particular time. And that's pretty much the collection that you're seeing online. The 80% is the basics of what people need. Like you need a beautifully tailored jacket, shirt, pants. The price points are a lot lower. And it's the basic things that people need on a daily basis. So that is where our bread and butter lies. But like every brand internationally, what you see out there from an advertising perspective and what you see out there in terms of runway collections, these things are pretty much the 20% of what a brand has to offer. But it shows the level of creativity you are at. So as much as the price points might seem a little bit, at least, a lot higher than what you are expecting in a commercial space, you have to understand that we make one-of-a-kind pieces and we also make individually. So being bespoke, which is the main driver of our business, that is not something that we chose, but it's something that is default purely because that's what works for our business model at this particular time. And we have to understand that the pie is big enough for everybody. It's not about wanting to capture the entire market, but capture the market that appreciates you most. And that's who we are servicing.
No, sure. Is there a particular age that you go for? I mean, a lot of the sales images will be, someone in their 30s because they're rich enough and still look good. But in the 50s, well, maybe you're just rich enough.
Right. So I think that really if you want something of quality and you value yourself in that level, sometimes you want to spoil yourself. Sometimes, you're able to afford it. I think there's no price to quality and there's no price to luxury. And when you understand that, then you know where your market is. We don't have a specific demographic when it comes to age. We have clients from the ages of 16, 18, all the way up to 85, 90. So, like I say, it's mainly bespoke. They might like a certain silhouette, but they'd want it in a different fabric and a different detailing. We're absolutely able to achieve that.
Sheldon, it's great to talk to you. Thank you. I find that so interesting. Sheldon Kopman is the founder and creative director of the fashion line, the fashion house, let me call it that, Naked Ape.
Stephen Grootes
Taking your calls
on 011-883-0702.
Time for the Friday Biz Blitz this Friday evening. You heard the number. You know how it works. You call us. We give you a question. If you get the question right, we move on to the next question. If you get the question wrong, we move on to the next caller. First question tonight on the Friday Biz Blitz. Which city is due to host the G20 that we are not being invited to? First question on the Friday Biz Blitz. Which city is due to host the G20 that we are not being invited to?
The Money Show, Stephen Grootes, is brought to you by Absa CIB, proud host of the Africa Impact Matters series podcast. Absa is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
The Money Show, Friday Biz Blitz.
First question on the Friday Biz Blitz tonight. Which city is due to host the G20 that we are not being invited to? Selma, you're in Rudaport. Hi.
Hi, Stephen. I just want to say that as far as I know, it is, as Trump calls it, the great city of Miami.
It is the city of Miami, Selma. Yes, you are right. Okay. Second question on the Friday Biz Blitz. A South African harbour was ranked the worst performing container port in the world, according to the 2024 World Bank Ports Index. This week, we heard that it's turning around. Which harbour is it?
I'm going to guess and it says Durban.
Selma? It is Durban, yes. Okay, here we go. Third question. This week, we spoke to the NERSA chair, Tembani Bakula. He was our shapeshifter this week. What does NERSA stand for?
The National Energy Regulator of South Africa.
Wow, Zelma, you're on a roll here. Okay. Which is the busiest shopping day of the year?
Well, they claim that it's not Christmas Eve anymore. It's now Black Friday.
Selma? Yes, it is Black Friday. Wow. Okay, we've got other people here. They would like a chance too, Selma. Okay, next question. Here we go. Which telecommunications giant listed on the stock exchange this week?
Cell C.
Zelma? Yes. Zelma, congratulations, you're a winner.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's the first time ever.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zelma. Congratulations. Okay, it's not very often someone gets the first one right and goes all the way. We've had from the second one, we've had people steal it at the last minute. But Zelma, congratulations. And yeah, some very interesting questions coming through today. Okay, so obviously a lot of questions, I think, being asked around what happened with Black Friday today, how busy it's been. And I do just want to remind you once again, just take a look at your bank before you go to bed, maybe when you wake up tomorrow. Make sure that no one used the high transaction volumes to actually insert some payments that were not due. In other words, don't let anyone do what they did to me last year and steal it from you. Make sure that you get it back. You with the Money Show at 7 o'clock.